Service Anywhere. Let us wow you. Next slide, please. I'll be your host this morning. My name is Laura Walker. I am the chapter leader for the Service Manager Special Interest Group as well as some local chapters. I'm also on the board of directors this year for Vivid Worldwide. And as a full paid-time position, I work for HP partner Stratacom. We're a partner in the service management space and very excited to see the new things coming with HP this year. Next slide, please. This webinar is brought to you by HP today. We have two speakers. We have Steve Anderson, who is a Senior Product Manager with HP Software, and we have Mary Rasmussen, who is a Worldwide Product Marketing Manager for HP Service Anywhere. Next slide. A few housekeeping items. This is a live session. It is being recorded. It'll be made available to you on the Vivid website after we conclude. We will be doing a question and answer session at the very end of the webinar. If you'd like to ask questions, enter them into the pane and we will ask them at the very end of the presentation. Next slide. This is a web shot of the webinar control panel where you can answer your questions. If you don't see it, simply click on the orange arrow and it'll expand it. Find the questions pane, and that's where you can type your questions into. Next slide. With that, I would like to turn it over to Mary to get us kicked off for today.
Thank you, Laura. Next slide, please. And one more. So solving today's challenges, a little background before we get into the demos of the service. So there's an explosion of new technology, and that's creating both challenges and opportunities for IT. Many of you on the line are probably in IT, and you know exactly what I'm speaking about. All these have a big impact, but especially cloud, big data, and the demand for consumerization. So if you're at ground zero on an IT service desk and you're talking to those business users, you've probably noticed that they're demanding more and more and they want it faster and faster, almost like an internet shopping experience. It wasn't all too long ago. I can remember these days. Maybe I'm dating myself by saying that, but IT used to try to keep life simple, limiting the devices and services on the corporate infrastructure, but those days are long gone. With cloud services, big data, and a flurry of new mobile devices, it's pretty challenging for the IT team. They need to be agile and constantly delivering those quality services. At the same time, while technology is making these challenges, it's also offering opportunities. You can raise efficiency and improve the service quality, and you can keep those customers delighted. You just need the right tools. And Service Anywhere on its new architecture, it uses many of these technologies to solve today's problems. Next slide. So kind of what we call the macro trends that are putting service management at a crossroads, right, where the customer, they need to be customer-oriented, be agile, and if they don't do this, you face being irrelevant. And so here are some of the trends we're seeing that are adding to this situation. So business users are turning elsewhere for service and support. The days of your business users being willing to sit in a call queue or wait for a reply to email, those days are gone. They want fast answers, they want the right answers, and they will look outside IT. And that may be good and bad in terms of what the result is, but leaning over the cubicle wall to the techie that you're sitting next to and asking for advice, it may or may not be a good option. It certainly doesn't leverage well across the organization. And the main issue is that IT starts losing insight as to what's happening in their own landscape. When people go outside of IT for answers to TechNet, to Google, to everywhere, IT is not even aware that there's a situation developing within the IT area. So while solving problems quickly is great, avoiding them and making sure the advice is reusable is even better if you can do it. The other trend that I think everyone's seen is that IT budgets are flat, and there's an increasing line of business influence and control. And you can see here 80% of the new IT investments will directly involve line of business. And line of business people are helping make those decisions, and IT needs to stay involved. And then lastly, you look at, we talk about shadow IT and the governance. And while going to the cloud can be great for business and you can get exactly what you need, IT needs to stay involved at every level. Next slide. So what are the fundamentals to Service Anywhere? And these are, you're going to see a lot of things in the demos today, and I'll ask you to be watching for some of the influence of these items. Big data. I know everyone's heard our messaging on big data, but big data is changing everything on the service desk. And at HP, we like to talk about connected intelligence, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But Service Anywhere is built brand new architecture and with big data at the core. It's not a bolt-on, a Band-Aid. It was in the design. It's part of the service. And that's why when Steve demos many of these features, I call it omnipresent. It's there and helping the IT user deliver great service to the business users. And then, of course, social IT management. I know many of you have heard us talk about this before, but if you haven't, it's a way to keep customers engaged. So rather than going, like I said, to a call queue and waiting, which you can do, or sending an email, it's a much more interactive approach to customer service, where the users can engage with each other. Remember we talked about the guy in cube next door? Well, instead of yelling over the cube, I could be talking to that same individual at a different site through the social collaboration that's part of IT social management. And then that interaction with big data at the base can be captured, and if he's got a great solution that users understand, that can be captured and transferred as part of leverageable knowledge. And also with social IT management, we have things like smart search, again, the interaction between users. It's just a whole new way of doing IT. And then thirdly, with Service Anywhere, you'll hear us talk about the Agile continuous development process. And what that means is the environment's changing quickly, and your IT solution needs to be also adapting. And the days of waiting for a release of your software solution to come out 9 months later, those days are gone. And I will show you an example of this in just a couple slides, where you get fast time to value, you get new capabilities, and you can continually adapt to your customer needs quickly. Next slide. So connected intelligence, this is the essence of the big data solution, where what that means is with connected intelligence is you can make 100% of your business relevant data available to both your users, your IT user, and also informs to your business user through self-service. And what it does is it can collect machine data, which is structured and unstructured data, like conversations. We talked about social IT management, social collaboration. That's unstructured data that can be captured and reused. And through automation and a superior user experience, you can put that information at the fingertips of your ITSM user. And I don't mean separate searches where first I search here and I get these answers, and I search in another place and get another list of potential answers. The database, the knowledge basically grows and matures with your operation. And so when you do searches, it aggregates all the different sources. And so when you pull up results, it's intermixed, and with the highest match out of all the data first, regardless of its raw data source. And putting that in the hands of the users is what we call connected intelligence. Next slide. I mentioned Agile continual delivery, and so I wanted to show you quickly before Steve gets into all the demos what Service Anywhere has done this year alone, the last 12 months. And we've had, as you can see, 5 updates. This does not count the very minor updates that we do as a SaaS service, for example, around patching or bug fixes or whatever. But these are feature deliveries that have come in through the service. So on older legacy systems, you're probably used to getting maybe 1 big update a year, possibly 2. This is what Service Anywhere has seen in the last, I guess it's 13 months now, but it was 12 months when I did the slide originally. And I've included here, we do all our announcements in the blog, the ITSM blog for HP that you see there in the subtitle. And each of those pictures will hyperlink you if you download the attachments of the slides to the announcement talking about what features were delivered and what benefits came in each of those deliveries. So very, very agile, fast time to value. Next slide. And with that, I'd like to introduce Steve Anderson, our Senior Product Manager, who was responsible for the latest delivery, which was December 2014, and he's going to show you and wow you with all the cool things that went in. Steve?
Great. Thank you, Mary. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending today. So this slide summarizes the main enhancements that came as part of the December release. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a live system and walk through some of these, and then we'll come back and review some of these that we're not going to show today at the end. So here you should be seeing my Service Anywhere screen. I'm on the initial dashboard. And the first thing I'm going to do is go in and look at the improvements we made in the area of change management. So first, looking at the page here for our change analytics. And in case some of you aren't familiar with this, I'll give you just some highlights, and we'll talk about the new things that we did for the December release. So with change analytics, and I'm just doing some filtering here while I'm talking, we've introduced in the August release 3 KPIs, so success rate, degree of use of standard change, and degree of change automation, to allow you to monitor and then focus on improvement of your change process. And for each of these, you can set a goal for the KPI. You can monitor the overall organizational view of your change process for these 3 metrics. Or you can go ahead and look at a particular service or another aspect of the change process. So here I'm only looking at the changes that are related to the Exchange service, and I see that my success rate for all changes is 79%, and not quite at my goal of 90%. But beyond looking at just displaying the values for each of these KPIs, we really wanted to focus on leveraging our big data platform to provide additional information that we can get access to because we're inside the tool with access to all of the change process data. So for each of the KPIs, we provide a number of insights. So for standard changes, we're able to analyze the changes and tell you that in this sample data set, that standard changes had a 12% shorter implementation time compared to normal changes, and they were 32% more successful than non-standard changes. So what this tells us is it gives us a motivation and a justification to invest more in a standard change process. But where should we put that investment? So great, we've got buy-in. We want to look for opportunities to transform things that are currently being done with the heavier normal change process through a standard change, bypassing expensive CAB meetings. So that's where we can look at this. How can you improve section of the KPI? So we see here that we can look at the normal changes that are most used and have the highest success rate and the lowest risk, and those are presented. And these are not generic suggestions. They're really looking at what is the content of your data set and what are your opportunities that give you the highest likelihood of a good return on investment, either around creating standard changes or creating change automation for this third one. And also for success rate, we can look at this view action points, and we're going to see a view of what is the difference between unsuccessful changes and successful changes. So in this example, successful changes are more likely to have a build and test plan. So we might want to invest in processes that would increase the amount of time where we put the appropriate information into build and test. And again, this is all based on the actual data in your system and not on any generic suggestions. All right. So what have we done to improve this with the latest release? So as we were talking about this with customers after the initial introduction, the question often came up about, well, all right, how am I doing today compared to last month or last quarter? And there were ways to get at that data. You can come here to the filtering and you can change the time frame and see how you're doing last month versus this month. But we really wanted to give a way for customers to see that information visually, make it easier to consume, and to communicate up the management chain. So up here in the right of each of the KPIs, you'll see a little trend chart icon, and if I click on that, it's going to open a panel, and it's going to show me my success rate either by month, which is the current setting, or by weeks, I'll change it there, for the past 6 months. This is a recently provisioned tenant, so the data doesn't go back that far, but we can see what the trend is over time. And this trend chart that we display is always in the context of how the KPI is currently being displayed. So in this case, the trend chart is for all the changes in the Exchange service, and it's for all of them. If I go ahead and close that, I could change it to just emergency changes. And we see we've always been successful on emergency changes in this system. And I can go ahead and click on the trend chart, and we'll see that it's nice and flat here at 100% over the past 2 data points. Yeah. All right. So those are our improvements around the KPIs, but that is not the only place where we're using analytics in change management. So let's go and look at an individual change record. So here I have one, and I'll bring your attention over here to the right panel. And we can see here the success analysis and risk statistics panel. So here, inside the change process, we want to give people, the change coordinator or change owner, access to information from the analytics engine that will help improve the working of individual changes, what we're calling immersive analytics. And so here we can see for similar changes, and by similar we mean changes that are using the same change model and the change service, and the same service, what is their success profile and what is their risk profile. And that way I can quickly see if my change has a different, is similar to changes that are very successful, then I'm probably going to feel good. If I see that there's a high likelihood of failure, then that's going to influence my decision and the amount of planning and type of planning that I do around the change. Also, I can look at the current evaluation of the risk for the change versus what similar changes have been evaluated that have been completed, and that might give me an indication of areas where I need to put a little bit more time and investment into understanding why this change might be evaluated different than other changes that the system has identified as similar in the past. We've also introduced the similar past changes section here, and there we will display up to 3 recently closed successful changes and up to 3 recently closed failed changes. And this gives the change analyst, change coordinator, quick access to the institutional knowledge that you're building up by running the change process. So I'm able to quickly see those changes, drill, navigate into them, so I could go and look at maybe who was involved with the successful implementations of similar changes, maybe what went wrong with failed changes, and therefore influencing this change and the success and the likelihood of the success of this change, and therefore then improving my overall change process. And we should see that reflected in the KPIs that I showed first. All right, so that's what we have in the area of change management. Next, I'm going to show you just a minor change on the mega menu structure. And I can do that just right from this page. So I'll come up here to change management. And for those of you who've seen earlier demonstrations of Service Anywhere, you might remember the old mega menu was kind of plain, so we've gone through and done a restyling of it, making it more visually appealing. We think this is actually a very important part of any product in today's age of consumerization and just the expectations of our user community, whether it's end users or users inside the IT organization. They want to work with a product that they like to work with, that looks nice, that is interactive and helps them get their job done quickly. And having a nice looking menu is one aspect of that. So we've gone ahead and improved the look there. And we did a little bit of rearranging. So we moved these common tasks that had been on the left over to the right here. We found that that was a more efficient location for these items when we trialed it with a number of end users. And then there's one other kind of functionality change that was introduced in the menu as well, and that is we took the administration section and we have gone ahead and I clicked anywhere in the header and that expands the administration section. We've subcategorized the administration items in the menu in order to make it easier for those of you with administration rights to find the particular menu entry that you're looking for. We also expect this area to grow as the product continues to be added to, and we wanted to make sure that we had a good, consistent way to add entries into the menu and still allow everybody to find and locate those quickly. So for most users, they're not going to have access to administration, so it's not really going to be any change, and hopefully it'll improve the effectiveness or the efficiency of the administrators that are in the system. I can always click and close that. One other improvement that we put in as part of this, and this is one that is very close to my heart and modeled after my behavior and many other people. So whenever I wanted to go to a new page in Service Anywhere, I would come here to the menu, I would right-click, and I would say Open a New Tab, or maybe Open a New Window. Typically, I used Open a New Tab. And so that's a couple extra clicks. We wanted to streamline that process. So I can show that here. So for people, now we have a little icon here. So all I have to do is click on that, come over here, and when I click on this icon, it's going to go ahead and open the people page in either a new window or a new tab based on my browser settings, of course. So just a little bit more efficient, something that I've appreciated with the new release, that's for sure. All right, so that was the refinements of our mega menu. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next topic, and that is in the area of self-service and the service catalog. So one thing we wanted to provide was the ability for end users to provide feedback to IT and to other users around items that they interact with on the service portal. So if I come here and I do a quick search, say I want to learn how to get email on my phone, so I can say email on mobile. It's a typical search that goes through some of our other demos. I'm not going to go through the full flow. So here's my combined search results. The top item is a knowledge article. Let's go ahead and look at that knowledge article. So I see this knowledge article. I can read through search. So I can see I made a comment 2 days ago on this, and I can go ahead and add an additional comment, or if I was a different user, I could put a new comment in here, either intended to help other users when they're consuming this article, or maybe providing feedback to IT about how the article could be improved, or just giving them a kudos saying that it was very helpful to me. And that would be in addition to being able to flag it as helpful up here, or rating it. So that's great. I've provided some input here. I can see it's visible as an end user. But let's go ahead and look at it from the agent side. So here I am back on the dashboard page. I'm going to go to the global search. I know this is a quick way to find that knowledge article. So I'm just going to do a very similar search, but this time in the agent interface. So I get my combined results set here, so I see the knowledge article. Let's look at it from the agent viewpoint. bringing up my knowledge article. And we see here we have the Discussions tab. If I go ahead and move to that, we can see that the comment is visible that I made 2 days ago through the self-service portal is visible for the IT agent. This can become part of my review process for knowledge articles. So as I'm monitoring the number of times that an article has been viewed, been used, looking at the rating, if I decided it's time to come in and do do a review of the article to determine if it's still useful, if it should be revised, I can look at the comments that it's received as well and use that to influence my decision about what to do with this article going forward, whether it needs to be improved, continue as is, or maybe be retired. So let's go back to the service portal. We'll come back here. And this capability is also available for items in the service catalog. So if I come here to, we'll just search for Afaria in this case. So we see we have a support offering. And again, at the bottom, with feedback from the users, so I don't want to install Afaria in this case. And I can, of course, add additional comments if I want, and other users can add comments. And that, again, is visible on the IT agent side, just as it was for articles, and become part of the process for reviewing and improving what is available in your service catalog, both service and support offerings. All right. Another area of improvement was around user options. So I'm going to go ahead and search for new PC. And I want to go ahead and go through, look at the process of requesting a new PC. And you'll see here, and this will tie into a couple features that we've, areas that we've improved with this release. So we see here I have a user option defined in the service catalog in this offering of a PC type. So I want to request a new PC. So my choices here are high performance or travel friendly. So I can say my PC is too heavy, need a lighter one. And I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And this is going to kick off two things. So one is some improvements around the reservation of laptops in the system utilizing our stock management module. But the first one I want to focus on is the display of user options. So you saw the user option was there. As I go through the process of submitting the request, I could select a choice on the PC type. That is now available in the request on the IT agent side as they're looking at fulfillment. And it's something we'll utilize in automated fulfillment in this case. But I can view it there. So I want to handle my request offline. I don't need to chat. And let's go and look at this request in the history. So if I want to see where my request is at, so I see it's looks like it's already been approved, so it already was probably an auto approval there, and it's now in fulfillment. And if I don't remember what kind of laptop I requested, I can come in here and say, okay, the PC type was travel friendly. So any of those user options that you define, your end users are now going to be able to see what those choices were in case they forgot what they had requested. Also, those user options are now visible to coming through the service portal to issue an approval. They could see them before if they went in through the IT agent interface, and now they get that same visibility if they're doing their approval through the portal. So maybe if they're doing the approval on their phone and they're doing the approval quickly and they want to just check what type of PC was requested here, they can see that before making their decision about whether to approve or deny the request. All right, so let's go and look at this request. Well, actually, we're going to go in and look at the reservation process that we have in the system related to stock management. I'm going to come here back to the agent interface, and I'm going to do Control-Shift-A. So this is a shortcut. Still available, was there before. Just if you aren't familiar with it, you can do Control-Shift-A. Actually, let me come here and give you a place to find it if you need to on your own later. So we have a tip here in the mega menu. Press Control-Shift-A for quick navigation. So I really like this. So I'm going to do Control-Shift-A. I'm going to go to Devices. So I can very quickly type something in, and it searches through all the menu entries, and I can go straight there very quickly. So it's really a very efficient way. So these are all of the devices in the system, laptops and desktops, that are in stock and are reserved. So I've set up this filter ahead of time, of course. And I see here that since I last looked, we have a new reserved PC. So this one here, let's go ahead and drill into that and look at it. And any time that we mark a device as reserved, we're now indicating it prominently at the top of the screen. So you can see we have reserved asset up here. So it's something that draws your eye to it, has a nice icon and a little badge there. It's also marked as reserved down here in the details. But up here in the top to catch people's attention, if I go ahead and click on that, I can get information about the reservation. So I can see that it's reserved for Steve Anderson. So it's reserved for me. It's reserved for approximately a month. And I get the link to the request that generated the reservation. So I can go ahead and click on that. And navigate over to the request. So here we are. So I believe this is the same one. So 14,199 was the request that we just submitted. And we see my description. My PC is too heavy. I need a lighter one. I've requested a travel-friendly PC under the user options. And what I really want to go and look at is the task plan. So we can see here, this is the fulfillment plan that was defined as part of the service offering for requesting a new PC. And it ties into our asset management system, specifically around stock management. And we can see here that we go through a number of decision points and use a number of automated tasks in order to automate the process of looking at the stock rooms and reserving an appropriate PC when the request comes in. So we determine which type of model. So was it travel-friendly or high-performance? So it went down this path. So we set it to travel-friendly. We looked to see if there was a model set, and we did have a model set as part of the offering. And therefore, we issued, and this indicator here is for a automated task. Ones without that are manual tasks. So we have now used a business rule to go and reserve the PC. We checked that it's successful. We see that it was successful. And now we have a manual process of, we have a task that's now assigned out to somebody in our organization to prepare that PC for delivery. And then we can, once that is completed, we'll close the reservation, ask that it be delivered, and then do the paperwork that's necessary to close off the request, so writing out the solution and the completion code. So an example of the kind of fulfillment plan that you can build in the request management fulfillment area through the service catalog, and showing a combination of manual and automated tasks. So that covered both the display of user options and the improvement in the display of reserved assets, and also kind of a review of what you can do with fulfillment plans. All right. The next area that I want to talk about is related to the trial experience. So for those of you who have a lot of experience working with Service Anywhere, this might be redundant for you, but any of you who have not gone to hpserviceanywhere.com and requested a trial, this is some functionality that is designed to help you get introduced to the product. So you can see here we very prominently indicate that this is a trial system, the little airplane there. If I go ahead and click on this, I can go to the welcome page, or I can go to any of the subpages. But let's start with the welcome page. And actually, this page will come up the first time you log into your newly requested trial system. I've had the system for a little while. I've already gone in and viewed Hot Topic Analytics. So on this map, we have 3 destinations today. We'll add more in the future. We have the Productive Help Desk. We have End User Self-Sufficiency. And we have Hot Topic Analytics. And you can pick which of these topics is most interesting to you. In this case, I'm interested in Hot Topic Analytics. I want to learn what that is. I'm not really sure what that means. Let's find out. So as I come in here, so normally these will start closed, we're going to give you 3 panels to give you information about Hot Topic Analytics. And I'm not going to go through all the details on this. I'll let you do that on your own. And I can open each of the windows to see a view into the product and also some information about how this functionality can be helpful to me. I have 3 pages. Here I can go ahead and launch a video about it, or I can take a tour. So let's go ahead and take a tour. So it navigates me to the appropriate location in the product, and this is the live product, the one I've been demoing out of. And we provide an overlay that is going to provide additional information and guide me through the process of understanding this capability in the tool. So we'll go ahead and click Next. So here, I'm being directed to look at the drop-down here so I can see that I have a choice of user questions, requests, or user searches. It doesn't really ask me to take any action at this point, just pointing out that that's where I make my selection. So we'll go ahead and do Next. Some more information about how Hot Topic Analytics can help me. Highlighting the topic map here. And now it's asking me to go ahead and select some of these, and as I select them, it's pointing out that the questions on the side will change based on which part of the Hot Topic map I select. And then I can say Next. And now, pointing me to the Create Article, and I need to select a couple questions and go ahead and create an article. And this is actually going through the live tool, and I'm starting the process of creating a knowledge article, and my tour continues. So it provides information about creating the tour, so I can click Next. And then we don't really want to add this. We're just trying to get an introduction to the system. So even the process of abandoning the creation of the article is part of the guided tour. And then I'll end up back on Hot Topic Analytics, and my tour will continue. So I can go ahead and select user searches, and the tour will continue. If at any point I feel like I'm done being guided, I want to explore on my own, I can go ahead and close this. And now I'm right here in the tool, ready to go ahead and explore on my own. And I can always come back here to click on Trial, go back to the Welcome page, and maybe move on and then view Productive Help Desk. And very similar process for each of our 3 destinations on our map. So let's go ahead and close that out. And I'm going to switch back to the deck now, and we'll talk about a couple of the features that we're not going to show but that are part of the release. So we talked about all of the ones here on the left. And we also talked about the visibility to request user options. So we've been working on areas of accessibility, improving screen reader support in request and change management. In the area of catalog, we introduced the ability to streamline the support interaction flow. So with the August release, we introduced end-user chat capability and the robot responses to an end-user submitting a request, where the system will go and, based on what the user has entered as their support request, look for matching support offerings. And the reason that we introduced that feature is that if we can direct the user to a specific support offering, we can provide a lot of additional value beyond just a very vanilla request coming into the service desk. So we'll be able to have user options that will capture the information that we need kind of back on the round trips between IT and the end user. And we might be able to build in some intelligence around the resolver group that kind of issue needs to go to. And those are 2 things that we would not be able to do if we just let them enter a request that is not tied to an offering that we have, a support offering that we've built up in our catalogs. We really want to direct users to use those support offerings when it is appropriate. However, we know that we're not always going to find a match to a support offering. Some customers may not have built out their support offerings very much initially. So this is an option to make it so that if no matches are found, the end user can just go ahead and directly submit their request into IT. In asset management, we improved the reservation information, so we saw that on the asset screen. We also improved the view of contracts, giving you a nice graph-style view of contract and contract dependencies, so you can, as you're looking at your contracts, navigate between them very efficiently. Moving to the bottom, we've introduced our event management integration, so specifically with the HP OMI product in the BSM area, also called the Operations Bridge. And this allows you to, from the your monitoring system, bring all of those, all of the information from the monitoring systems into OMI, correlate them, let that event management system determine which of those are the real root cause and therefore should be incidents in the ITSM incident management process. And it will go ahead and create those in Service Anywhere as incidents. Once they're over in incident management, that opens that information up to be utilized by the other processes we have in Service Anywhere. So as somebody calls into the service desk, if the agent's working in live support, they may be able to match what the user is reporting using our suggested solutions capability, match that to the incident that has been reported, that has been created from OMI into Service Anywhere. And those events can be created either automatically based on how OMI is set up, or by an operator working in the OMI interface can then decide that this should be created as an incident in Service Anywhere. And they'd be able to then navigate from the event over into Service Anywhere to view the incident directly based on the URL, assuming, of course, that they have permissions to access Service Anywhere in your organization. All right, so that is a quick overview of the content of our December 2014 release. And I would like to probably advance to the end. These are just some screenshots of what we went through in the demo. And now I'd like to see if there are any questions.
Great, thank you, Steve. We'll give everyone a few minutes to answer questions. They are starting to come in. Again, if you don't see the questions pane, click on that orange arrow to expand the panels, and you should see questions there. So the first question I have is for Steve. Can you talk more about the chat feature on Service Catalog? Is it part of Service Anywhere? Does it allow remote control too?
So the end-user chat capability that was introduced in our August release, and it is designed to allow the end user to request a chat with an agent. So when after they submitted the request, they get a choice of requesting a chat with the agent. If you have configured your system, that would be an option that would show to the user, as long as you have said that you want to support chat in that context. It then puts the request into a pending chat queue for your agents. We can initiate service level targets around ensuring that we get a response to those end users' chat in an appropriate time. Up to you to decide what appropriate is for your organization. And then the agent can go into the request queue and initiate the chat with the end user. So it's all contained within Service Anywhere, and all of the content of the discussion between the agent and the end user is recorded as part of the history for that request. At this point, it does not provide remote control capabilities.
Great, thank you. The next question I have is, where can we find a list of features and fixes coming to the next release?
So we will publish the release notes for each of the releases when the release comes out, and those are typically posted a little while ahead of each release. We do updates every 2 weeks, and larger updates including new functionality. They've been happening about once a month, although that's not necessarily won't always happen that way.
Okay. The next comment here, love the videos in knowledge management. Can you show us how difficult it is to create those articles with embedded video?
So it's very easy to knowledge articles. So it's a rich text HTML type format, so you can quickly create the content and link in videos from other locations. I think in the case that I showed, that video is actually on YouTube. You probably could have seen that, depending on how long it was on the screen. You could see that was linked to a YouTube video. So it's just a matter of linking in the URL in that case. If you want a more in-depth review of the knowledge management process, I encourage you to contact somebody at HP for a more dedicated discussion on that.
Okay, great, thanks. Next question is, what can you tell us about the 2015 roadmap?
So we have lots of exciting things coming in 2015, but that really is not the focus of this session. And if you need roadmap information, please reach out to your HP contact or either of us on this webinar. You can reach out to us, and we can help connect you to the right person to have that discussion.
Okay. The next one, what about integration with UCMDB and OMI?
I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at there, so I'll try. I'll answer some of the things I think about in that area. So we do have an out-of-box integration with UCMDB. So UCMDB, we can connect UCMDB to be the provider of information into the Service Asset and Configuration Management module of Service Anywhere. So that's out of box. It brings in your CIs, business services, CI relationships, all of that will come in. On the OMI side, so we would expect that OMI would be integrated, so the RTSM, Runtime Service Model, would be integrated with that UCMDB system so that we would have a shared repository, a common understanding of what the CI are, and when the event is created, it would be linked to the appropriate CI in Service Anywhere.
Okay. Is Service Anywhere and the Service Portal all in one, or do you have two separate services?
It's all in one.
Okay, great. Next one, are there any front-end tools? Oh, sorry, that's popping in, popping down. Are there any front-end tools or features available through Service Anywhere with respect to standard service request catalog creation and maintenance?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
You want me to repeat it one more time?
I'm reading it.
Okay.
I think I need the requester maybe to clarify. I'm just not sure how to answer it. I'm not following what he's looking for. I apologize.
Okay. Feel free to enter additional clarifying questions and comments, if you would, to the person who submitted that question. So we'll move on to the next one. Do you have a recommended integration methodology? For example, connect it, provided with product, out-of-box using API, etc.
Okay. So the Service Anywhere, one of the things I love about it, and been working on it for a couple of years now, is how integratable a product it is. So we have REST APIs exposed for everything in the product. In fact, the client interacts with the backend services through REST API. So pretty much everything you see if you're using a trial system and exploring the product, everything you're doing through the client is really being done through REST APIs to show you how integratable it is. So you need to have some mechanism that you're comfortable with in order to interact with a REST API. So there's lots of options out there for that. If you are familiar with Connect It and you're going to have Connect It running in your data center anyway you already do, that's an excellent option. If that's a tool you like, I would would encourage people to go ahead and take advantage of that. Connected is enabled to work with Service Anywhere. As well, there is content out there for HP Operations Orchestration to interact with REST API and act on Service Anywhere. And I've actually seen an example of somebody doing email integration using OO and other things. So those are all options, or you could create your own REST client and integrate that way.
Okay, great. Here's a question I hear a lot. Is Service Anywhere on demand, or is it a replacement for HP Service Manager 940 on-premise, including all modules?
So it is definitely not a replacement for HP Service Manager. So the ITSM market, there is today primarily on-premise if you look at the market research from the analysts, and the SaaS market is the area where the most growth is happening, but they're both projected to be, and we believe, are very large markets going forward, and they're very different markets in terms of the type of product that is going to best serve on-premise versus a SaaS-delivered ITSM and service and portfolio management tool. So we intend to, and we are actively building out, have a very aggressive roadmaps both for Service Anywhere for SaaS and Service Manager for on-premise.
Okay. I see a comment. I think it's the clarifying comment for the question you were unsure of. The comment is, service catalog creation is traditionally a back office activity performed by a dedicated catalog expert. Does Service Anywhere change this in any way?
So the catalog, the definition of the catalog, especially at the category service definition level, is very straightforward, could be handled. It definitely does not need a developer type role to build that out. So I would say it's something that could be involving more of the end user community and your business knowledgeable people. Definitely not something I would see being done by a dedicated development team, and definitely the more you involve your user community and how you find your service catalog, the more successful it should be.
Okay, thank you. Next question, do you offer both REST and SOAP APIs out of box?
No, we do not. So we are only exposing REST APIs for Service Anywhere. That is the direction the market is going, and that since we have started recently building the product, we have standardized on REST-based web services.
Okay. Can you elaborate on the BOT chat and when this switches from BOT to real actual agent?
Okay. So I unfortunately, well, I guess no, I didn't really show it in the demo, so I apologize for that. So when you're submitting the request, the initial text that you type in is analyzed by the system using our big data engine and looks for the most related support offerings that you have defined in your service catalog, and will present those to the end user as options to choose. So that is the bot action. If they choose not to select those, or even after they select one of those, and then they actually submit their request into the system, then they'll get a choice of asking for having a chat session with a real agent, or having it held offline. So only after they request chat with the agent, then the agent will start the chat with the end user, and that is then, of course, with a live person.
Okay. Next question I have, can you launch this chat from your Android and iOS devices?
So yes, so the agent interface works very well on your typical tablet-sized device in landscape mode. Service Portal works down to smartphone, of course. But if we're talking about from the agent side, if I'm on a tablet and I have a reasonable amount of screen real estate to be processing tickets, I could initiate the chat from there and chat with an end user who is on their mobile device. And it could also be, the chat is also available between agents in all of the modules. So if I am want to have a discussion around a change record with somebody else in the organization, I can do that, and that could be, of course, between two agents, no matter what device they are on.
Okay, great, thank you. Does the Service Anywhere trial include any videos on how to do common things? The tour looks great. Just wondering about some of the how-to videos.
So we do have the videos for each of the locations on the map. Has the related tour, also has a related video, and you have access to the full help system to provide additional information about the features and functions of the product.
Okay. Is it possible to use Link as chat with Service Anywhere?
So today the chat capability is fully embedded in the Service Anywhere experience. We want to make sure that all of the chat communication that happens in the context of the records is captured and persisted as part of the historical audit for each of the records. So we're not currently integrated it into external chat systems like Link.
Okay. Next one is HP Bridge on-premise is not necessary for integrations between UCMDB and other on-premise HP products?
So the on-premise bridge is a component that does facilitate integration. It is used for some of our integrations, especially where we need to kind of manage the security of crossing from Service Anywhere in the HP SaaS data center to taking action on something in your customer data center. So that examples of that would be like the HP Operations Orchestration integration, where we will, from Service Anywhere, initiate a runbook, or the SharePoint connector, and we go and index SharePoint content and serve that up as knowledge in the product. Both of those do utilize the on-premise bridge. UCMDB integration also. However, if you are interacting with the REST API, that is already a secure channel, and it's initiated from your side, so it does not need to go through the on-premise bridge component.
Okay. Next one, how much data is needed to make the change analytics results significant?
Obviously, the more data you have, the more relevant the suggestions that we're able to determine based on analyzing that data, the more likely they are to be relevant and good. Once you get below, through the filtering below about 10 change records, we no longer even try to do the analysis, and we just presented information that there's not enough data.
Okay. With the Agile delivery model, do your customers have a chance to preview the changes before they're pushed out?
So it depends on the type of change that is being delivered. So we are in a continuous delivery model. We push, we have planned pushes to the product about every 2 weeks, and about once a month on average recently we've been pushing new functionality in this continuous delivery. We're able to do them without any downtime to the system, and those go in either as non-disruptive features or as disabled that need to be enabled by somebody on the administration side. So in those cases, there isn't a preview window. With our larger releases, which happen 2 to 3 times a year, where there are more changes that are more likely to be disruptive and need proper communication into your end user communities, both in IT and out in the business, then we do update the development tenant, give you a preview window so you can be ready to field any questions, and then the update from the production system.
Okay. Does Service Anywhere have connections to PPM?
So we do not have any productized integration with HP project PPM today. However, both products are very integratable, and there are many ways to integrate them with a little bit of services work.
Okay. The next question, is there anything missing from Service Anywhere versus Service Manager? Anything that Service Manager on-premise has that is not in Service Anywhere?
That's a very broad question. There are definitely differences in approach between the products. So Service Manager has been around a long time and built up a very rich feature base. We're not necessarily going to try to replicate each and every feature function. We're going to look at those that are most utilized and are going to provide the most value and have the best fit with the type of customers that are looking to go with a SaaS-based product versus an on-premise more toolkit type product.
Okay,
Hi, Steve. This is Mary. I'd like to add something to that.
Yes, ma'am.
It's important to keep in mind that they're two very distinct solutions. And while, of course, there's a lot of overlap because of the nature of both being service desk, we have the same features but different depth and et cetera. If you're trying to make an evaluation, we can get you more details.
And I think the main point of the question was modules. Are all the same modules currently available in Service Anywhere that are on-premise?
I'd have to go look at a module list. So again, if you want to if you would like some follow-up on that, you can email me, and we can get on the phone.
Okay, I'll make sure that person gets connected with the both of you to review those things. The last question I have here is, how long does it take to deploy and configure a basic service desk, such as incident, problem, and change?
Great question. We have found that our customers are able to deploy very rapidly. So our range of time from when they start the implementation to when they go into production has been anywhere from 2 weeks to about 2 months. So very implementation times, and typically on the just focused on the service desk is going to be on the shorter end of that time frame.
Okay. Well, that wraps up all the questions that have come in. If you could advance to the last slide, I'll give a few closing comments before we sign off today.
Is there one more? That one.
So there's a few slides now you saw with some additional resources with links. So when you access this via the website, feel free to click on those links for more information. HP would also love to hear from you if you'd be willing to complete the short survey and opt in for more information. That would be wonderful. I think we may have one more if you want to advance one more slide. That's all we have. Thanks, everyone, for your time today. We're glad you took the time to join us, and we look forward to seeing you again on future HP Service Manager and Service Anywhere webinars.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.
Thank you.